I'm Pastor Bryan Hudson. I'm here with Larry Smith, CEO of the Fathers and Families Center. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Good to be here, Pastor.
Thank you. May I call you Larry?
Please.
But call me Bryan, please.
No, will do.
Having an event on March 8th called Building and Rebuilding Men. It's a forum of just grassroots fathers and pastors and ministers and practitioners. And we want to bring in perspectives. And when I learned about your organization last fall, I wanted to see if I could have you come on to record this and then play it back, parts of it, for the event. So thank you for being with us, Larry. Appreciate you and your work for men and for our community.
My pleasure.
Larry, what is the story behind the founding of Fathers and Families Center?
Great story. There was a woman named Sarah Meadows who is still with us. At the time, she was the director of social work at what was then Wishard Hospital. And so part of her job was to go to maternity wards and work with young mothers. And so one day she goes to a maternity ward, young African-American woman. She's there as the social worker. The doctor is there, medical staff is there. The father is there, but no one is talking with him. And she said, she thought to herself, well, that's not right. And so she started a program that at the time was called the Father Resource Program. She hired a young PhD student, Purdue PhD student named Wallace McLaughlin. Fast forward a few years, Fathers and Family Center becomes a separate 501c3 organization. Dr. Wallace is the first president and CEO, and Sarah Meadows leaves Wishard to come to work for him. And so that was the genesis of the organization.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you came on in 2022, is that correct?
Correct, August of 2022.
Now, I read in the About Us page on the website, and I found this comment very interesting. It said, but simply blaming fathers is a mistake. Many want to be engaged and productive fathers, but are caught up in a seemingly inescapable cycle of poverty and neglect. For some, the most pressing issue is day-to-day survival. And I like this thought where you say, or the website says, that just blaming men, blaming fathers is a mistake. What caused you to come to that understanding and realization?
Well, as my predecessor says, most of the men we serve are not deadbeats. They're just dead broke, right? So their average income when they get to us is about $11,000 annually. So that's one. The second thing is, if not a majority, at least a plurality of them have gone through some serious trauma, substance abuse or physical abuse, sexual abuse in some cases. And so they've dealt with a great deal. And then, some may have some medical or emotional issues. And so these men have been challenged. And when I say these men, I include myself in that. I was a dad at 16 years old, just before I turned 17. Grew up in the inner city in Indianapolis, around 34th and Emerson. And my parents were divorced when I was very, very young. My father was not involved in my life. I don't disparage him. He was battling his demons. He's an Army vet and all that. But it was still a challenge. And so when I see these men come through our door, I think literally, if not for the grace of God, that would be me. But we're dealing with men in general who have some serious challenges to overcome.
I appreciate that you all are looking at men holistically and not simplistically, as sometimes is the case, not relying on narratives, but seeking to understand by knowing people and getting to know guys.
No doubt. And, one of the narratives that we try to undo is, for example, a lot of people will quote, well, 3/4 of African-American children are born out of wedlock, and they will conflate that with our fathers not being engaged. Well, if you look at the data, the empirical data from the CDC and others, Black fathers are the most involved fathers, more than white fathers, more than Hispanic fathers, even if we're not in the home, right? So we shouldn't conflate out of wedlock with a father who is not involved.
What have you found to be some of the best practices for empowering and helping rebuild the lives of men and fathers?
Yeah, so one, taking a full assessment of what their needs are. So, for example, I mentioned the low income that the vast majority of the men have when they come, but that's one data point, right? So again, we need to address the other areas. So, for example, are you emotionally depressed? Do you have some kind of mental illness that we need to address as well? Maybe you don't have any of that, but you don't have a cohort of men who are a positive influence on you, right? And so you're intelligent, you may be gainfully employed, but you have something that sort of keeps pulling you back into situations that you shouldn't be in. And so having that cohort of men who have experienced the same or similar circumstances as you have, that really, really helps. And then providing opportunities for you to interact with your children in a powerful and personal way, right? And so we provide those opportunities, whether it's going to an amusement park or just going down the street here to the Children's Museum. We want to make sure that fathers have those opportunities. And so if we address the economic issues, any social issues, any mental or emotional issues, any substance abuse issues, and economic issues, and we have them in a cohort with other men who have had similar experiences, they are going to do the right thing. I'll give you a specific example. We have one cohort per month of what we call strong fathers. In any given cohort, 40 to 70% of the men are returning citizens. They've spent some time behind bars, but our recidivism rate is only 5%. You compare that to Marion County, it's 40 to 45%, depending on whose numbers you believe. And recidivism, I know you know, but maybe not everyone knows that recidivism means, am I going to do something that's going to get me back behind bars, right? And so that rate for the men we serve is only 5% as compared to their peer group outside of our program. It's 40 to 45%.
Wow. Yeah, I know guys thrive in structure like this. Matter of fact, one of our panelists is William Bumpus.
Yes.
He's one of our panelists. And
I know William because I used to be on the board at Wheeler Mission when he was there. So I just rolled off. So I do know William.
Well, of course, there's the son and the father, right? I'm speaking of the father. William Bumpus the second, the dad.
The son. I'm sorry.
Well, they're both together.
I know the son.
They're the same name, doing the same work, okay?
Right.
But I'm saying this to say he's run a residential aftercare facility for almost 35 years.
Wow.
With guys, again, returning citizens coming out. But the thing he remarks on is that prison is a structured environment.
It is.
Well, sometimes guys come out and come to unstructured environment, straight back to the same neighborhood they grew up and got in trouble in.
And they struggle.
So what Jesus House does, guys come in, these are guys who profess to be believers, and they go into discipleship, Bible teaching, prayer, and so forth. He says this is also a structured environment, but not like the prison, right? The idea is all of us need structure, right? Especially guys, coming back from either prison or just having recovery from life circumstances. So I see that Fathers and Family Center is one of those structures, right? One of those places where guys can connect. And to your point, and we served some men and children last December during our Christmas outreach. And all the guys I talked to said, yeah, man, I got guys over there who help me, who support me, who hold me accountable. Final question there. Anything else you want to say to those who are listening and watching right now?
Well, one, I just want to thank you for allowing me to be on the program and sharing the message of Fathers and Family Center. Our mission statement is to equip fathers and empower families so that children thrive. So ultimately, we're trying to affect the lives of children. Frederick Douglass famously said, it is easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men, right? And so sometimes the children are not strong and we have to deal with those broken men, and that's okay. That's what we're here for. And so we just feel blessed to have this opportunity. It really is a privilege. I've been blessed to have some great employment opportunities in my life, but this is a calling. This is a passion for me because, again, I really do realize that I could and probably should be one of the men who come through our door. And so it's an honor to serve them.
Well, thank you so much for your service and helping men and, become better men, returning to their families and being better fathers. There's a website link on this screen. It is to the Fathers and Family Center. Please visit the website. It's a rich website. It's current, full of good content, and learn more about the Fathers and Family Center and become a supporter of them and of what Larry is doing. So, sir, thank you so much for this time. Thank you for your work and your love, really, for the guys and their families. So I appreciate you so much for being on.
Absolutely. My pleasure. God bless.
All right. God bless you.